Let's talk about the politics of common sense. You so-called smart kids, you don't have a lick of common sense. That's what I heard from my homeroom teacher on the first day of middle school. And I bet Mrs. Deering would have liked this saying. It's 1,000 times better to have common sense without education than to have education without common sense. Well, she taught us both. So shouldn't we all be thrilled that we have a president who has common sense?
I am a conservative person, but when they say conservative, I say really more than conservative. I'm a person of common sense.
And also thrilled to have a leading member of Congress with common sense.
Because what these folks want to call radical and crazy, I think are just common sense.
Wait, I'm confused. If these two disagree about everything, and they do, then how can they both have common sense? What is common sense anyway? Thomas Paine explained it this way. Common sense is the ability to think through simple facts and plain arguments and reach conclusions that become, well, undeniable. So perhaps politicians mean something different. Maybe we should ask, what do politicians mean by common sense? When I ran for Congress, our strategy team said that their goal was not to make the most logical argument, but to deliver a message that feels sensible, that sounds familiar and connects with something we already believe, or we fear, or resent. Because once a message feels like common sense, we are less likely to question it. That is why it works. Politicians don't want us to actually use our common sense because if we really stop to think, we may not end up where they want us. Instead, they try to instill in us a gut feeling of common sense. The phrase common sense itself does this work. It tells us that whatever comes next must be obvious, practical, even American in a patriotic Thomas Paine kind of way. But Paine himself warned us that some words are chosen to shape our opinions before we even have the time to think. This is exactly what political campaigns do. They paint pictures that provoke our emotions. And when those images land, solutions seem obvious. Build a wall. Tax the rich. Drill, baby, drill. Defund the police. These are slogans disguised as solutions. They may point to real problems, but real solutions are never that simple. Still, our intuition craves the easy answers, and that can keep us from asking the hard questions that common sense demands. Who pays? Who gets hurt? Who benefits? What happens next? Those are the questions that campaigns would rather we never ask, but that is exactly what we voters must do. It's not enough for a politician to care about what we care about, or to hate what we hate. That may feel like common sense, but it's just political theater. From them, we must insist on real common sense, Thomas Paine's common sense. If you want to lead us, start with the plain, honest facts. Show us that you know the issue by boiling it down to simple, straightforward arguments. Explain the trade-offs. Prove to us why your conclusions can't be denied. In upcoming episodes, we'll talk about the politics of the big issues, how politicians substitute provocations for real solutions, and what we as voters must do to get the results we truly need. Political campaigns, they can shape our emotions, but we voters can shape history. Only if we use our common sense.